What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Icon. We here with my man Jacob, the great. We here on the 95 South Podcast, episode 2. Want to thank God for another opportunity to be here. What's going on, my man?
What's good? What's good? What's good?
Yeah, man. So yeah. This Saturday, man, we got a good one, man. We talking about we basically talking about the absentee father in the home, the absentee father in the home. So I'm gonna kind of let you get started, kick it off for us, and your thoughts on the absentee father in the home. What your thoughts are on it is?
Uh, the absentee father in the home is something that will never go unnoticed because um, it this it causes this disbarment with the child, where the child don't know how to face society head on. You know, a man is supposed to be a child's guide. You know, there's so many things that a woman can't teach a man, and there's so many things that a woman can't teach their daughters when it comes to navigating through society. Because when you navigate on American soil and you're black and brown people, it's a different type of navigation anyway. And so I think the absentee of a father, man, especially we're gonna talk about the female first who ain't grow up with a father. So she's denied the first man that's supposed to love her unconditionally. She's denied the first man that's supposed to sit her down and talk with her about different things. And she's denied that man that she can call daddy no matter what. And so with that being said, she sees her friends, even if she plays sports or she do dance recital or something like that, everybody there is there except for hers. She don't even know who hers is. So, you know, that's a form of anxiety and depression and emotional disbarment that a child has to face, throughout their childhood, going into their adulthood, and that's the first strike against them when trying to navigate through society. So that's for the females. For the males, they have this sense of angriness about them when they don't grow up with a father. They mad at the whole damn world, man. They
Uh,
they're like the hell with society. Like I know society don't love me because my own daddy didn't love me, and I came out his nutsack. So when it comes to another man trying to tell them something, especially a man who wasn't there, who they just meeting, and they may meet their father later on in life, but by this time they may be 21, 22. Ain't no respect there. Ain't no listen to them there. The only people they man listen to is one of their uncles or their grandfather. You know what I mean? But they're still not the same. Your your friends have all their daddy at events. But you don't have your biological father. You just have your granddad and your uncle. And and then when somebody start talking about talking about their dad, you get angry. You get angry, man. Can we talk about something else? These other kids, they did nothing to you, man. But you don't really want to talk about it. So the absence of a father leads to behavior issues, which leads to emotional disbarment, mental depression, and what leads to resentment against the mom sometimes because they have no answers. The mom don't have no answers for the children when they start asking questions, which is understandable that she don't have no answers because she really don't know herself.
mhm.
In a lot of cases, she really don't know.
Yeah.
But also in a lot of cases, when the kids found out that the mom was getting child support, but she told them that they ain't got no daddy. Somebody paying it. So they do got a daddy. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So that's just my start to talk on. But this is gonna be a good one. This one gonna get spicy and hot. I was a little sleepy when I came on this morning, but I'm woke now. Let's get it.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I mean, I thought about this a couple of weeks ago. I said, thing about it is it's just like when you hear people on interviews and stuff, and they talk about how they grew up poor, and but they didn't realize they was poor growing up because everybody in the neighborhood was poor.
Uh-huh.
So you don't realize you poor, and then something happens, and then all of a sudden you be like, dang, we poor, we actually poor. So it's just
Uh-huh.
like, I was actually talking to my son about this the other day, and I said, I didn't realize really it didn't have an impact on me as far as like a lot of times growing up because most of my friends didn't have fathers around. Most of us didn't. Most of my everyday friends that I walked around with, we didn't have a father in the home. So we were pretty much most of us was like the men of our house. We was the ones that the mom come to and take out the garbage and had to cut the grass or had to do this or had to do that. Look out for your sister or whatever it was. Like everybody, in everybody's home had a different role that they had for as far as what they mama relied on them because the mom at the house at work all day. So you relied on the boys in the home for certain things, especially if you had a boy and a girl, or if you had an older brother and a younger brother. You see the role of the older brother over the younger brother. But then at the same time that you had, you know, what happens is as you get older, those things that your mom can't do or can't, when you start becoming a little manlier and whatever, you start to buck a little bit more, and then so you need that man there to kind of get you back in line when you start to veer off to be like, I'd rather be. You don't understand me as a man, mom, so I need to be over here doing this when you trying to keep me over here doing that. You know what I mean? And I noticed like I had one friend, his mom was real strict. Like I'm talking about everything they did wrong, they got punished for. If they didn't he take out the garbage, he couldn't come outside. If he didn't make his bed, he couldn't come outside. It was just like every little thing he did, he got in trouble for. And then later on in life, you see where he is now. Where he's been in and out of prison. What I mean, or whatever. So moms can do the best they can with boys, but you could be real strict or you could be lenient. You know what I mean? And I had other friends where their parents was more laid back, more lenient with them, and they ended up turning out pretty good kids. You know what I mean? Have pretty good adult lives. So but you always need that father figure in the home to kind of like guide you to understand what you need to do in certain situations that a mother just can't. Much as a mom will try her hardest to be there, to be the father and the father and the mother. Is just certain things that a mother can't do when it comes to raising young men, especially when they get around them high school ages. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Okay, okay. Well, I mean, when I was growing up, and man, I just had a conversation about this yesterday with my homegirl, prophetess, and minister, Alicia Coleman, and we was talking about it, and we was talking about how we grew up. I'm 48, she 44, so we grew up together. You know what I mean? I was family well connected from way before we was born. Our families was connected. You know what I mean? So we was talking about how when we grow up, if we looked at our neighborhoods and stuff like that, that it was so many two-parent homes, like a lot. Like I grew up like how I grew up, bro. It was a lot of two-parent homes in my neighborhood, bro. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Just in my school system, just point blank period. It was like when you see somebody get in trouble, you see both of their parents come to the school, not just one. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like when your friends invite you to a cookout, I can remember we'd be out back with the water guns, the slip and slide and stuff like that. And the older people be gathering around playing cards, talking about what they talk about, but could no kid be in their mouth, cause they ain't play that. So I think that even my friends that didn't have their dad in the home, man, they had a firm granddad. They had a firm uncle. You know, even their big brothers that was maybe 5 or 6 years older than them, they was firm. They knew not to get in no trouble. You know what I mean? So I think that the absentee of a father, man, their biological father is something serious. But there has been men that step up, but it's not the same. It's like I've heard people say that's generally not the same to have my granddad at a game versus not having my dad at the game. You know, it's generally not the same of my friends talking about their dad taking them hunting, fishing, and teaching them things. And I said, well, my granddad taught me the same thing. But the excitement in the other kids' eyes about what their dad did for them, I had friends say I never had that excitement. And so with that being said, let's talk about what the government did. Okay. If you look up until 1968, um, say a person got in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would put them in some type of boot camp, but the boot camp gave them some skills, electrician, masonry, so on and so forth. So they start seeing these men, get these trades and stuff like that, and they stopped getting in trouble, and they was in the homes. Oh no, we can't have that, man. We can't have that if we if we put them in the home, man. We got to have some stipulations. We got to if a woman apply for Section 8, we automatically got to put that baby daddy on child support if the baby get Medicaid. And so with that being said, it created a wedge because just cause she needed a little help, um, and he might have a construction job that don't provide insurance. Most don't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men had construction jobs that them, whether they was working on asphalt, whether they was working in the home improvement field, they just didn't provide insurance. Excuse me. And with that being said, man, that automatically created that wedge between the household because therefore, if she was on Section 8, she couldn't have him in the house. If she applied for Medicaid, the Medicaid would be for her and the child, but the social worker automatically put the father on child support, and so that created a wedge as well. And so the absentee of a father thing go deep, man. It's way deeper than just us. It's way deeper than just the mother and the father, man.
Well, see,
They,
the three things that caused the absentee of the father, other than the father himself, is the Vietnam War was one. That was the first one. The second was, well, like you said, the whole setup of the Section 8 program, where if even if the father was in the home, now this is the key to it. Sometimes the father would be in the home, but if let's just say the father couldn't keep a job or whatever, and only way they could get that assistance if he's not in the home. So a lot of time the father would have to literally move out the home in order for his family to receive money while he's trying to get himself back on his feet. And then
mm,
that would cause a gap because he might move away, then all of a sudden he start veering off and getting into them streets, and there ain't no telling what's gonna happen from there. And then
mm,
three was the crack cocaine era. So those three
mm,
things kind of like depleted the black home. So Vietnam War, what I mean by Vietnam War is because when black man came back home, or just the father came back home, especially in poor neighborhoods and whatever, what happened is a lot of times they came back and they had PTSD. And what people don't realize is, and this is something I know for a fact that they did in Vietnam War. They would give them heroin. Some of them would
yeah,
start taking heroin in the Vietnam War to stay awake because they would give them heroin to keep them alert and aware while they was over in Vietnam. So, or if they had an injury or some sort, they would use heroin for like almost like medication. So when they would come back and then they were still kind of hooked on that heroin, they couldn't get to it. Or if it wasn't heroin itself, they was giving them whatever. If they weren't giving them heroin for medication, it was giving them the medication that was like equivalent of heroin, or whatever. When they would, I forgot what it is, what they give them, what it's called, where they would give them like, see, they even do it when you go to jail. It's like a certain, like when they're trying to get you off a drug, they give you that same stuff or whatever. So it's like certain things they do that's equivalent to heroin. So what happened is when they came back to the States and they would still be fighting with these injuries and the PTSD and all that, that's the only thing they couldn't get prescribed that medication no more to help them get over their injuries. So what they would do is that's when they would find heroin on the street, their street drug, and then they would, of course, they messed up mentally, and now you on this drug, so you really gone. So that was the first thing, and then like I said, they put the father out the home, and then when the crack cocaine era came, and what people don't realize about the crack cocaine era, if you watch a show like Snowfall, Snowfall really, really break kind of tells you exactly what crack cocaine, why people like, well, how so many people got hooked on crack cocaine. Because nobody really knew what it was. You know what I mean? Like that time, you got to think before the crack cocaine era, it was just people were sniffing cocaine and they were smoking weed. And cocaine don't have the same kind of effect or the same like mentally like take over you to the point where you'll just do anything to get it. So when people started smoking that crack, they just looking at it as another recreational drug, didn't realize you could get hooked on it and it could destroy homes. And you know what I'm saying? That's why when it first like started hitting the streets, the government didn't even know what it was. When they would find it, it would literally, I'm gonna tell you what was crazy about crack cocaine. When a police officer would bust somebody and they would find crack cocaine on them, let's say they found a powder drug on you and they would find this crack on you, they would just throw the crack on the ground and they would arrest you for the cocaine or the weed. They wouldn't even arrest you for the crack because they didn't know what it was. You know what I'm saying? That's how crazy it was in that. So that's kind of the three things. But yeah, but I just wanted to just put that out. You continue on, but I just wanted to put that out. What people don't realize about those the three main issues that caused the absentee father in the home.
Mm. And so, speaking on the crack cocaine era, a lot of people would say that babies who was born in the crack epidemic, if their mother or their father was on crack, they was like that crack death epidemic. It's an emotional and a mental disbarment when it comes to a child learning how to navigate. There was like they have the most behavioral problems, and they are the they are some of the smartest people when it comes to classroom, but when it comes to behavior issues, they are very, 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 very capable of doing something that you wouldn't see another teenager do. And you can tell, you know, as we look at these teens with in the streets, in the gangs, in the gun violence and stuff like that, I would say, man, most people that's involved with gangs, I would say 75% of those young men grow up with no father in the home.
Uh,
And I have a problem with that. I really have a problem with that. We always talking about the problem, but the solution has got to be found. Like I've seen it in neighborhoods because I lived a few places, but I've seen that these young men that didn't have father in the home, you had some mentors, you had some old school cats, and man, that make sure they put them hands on them boys when they were 6, 7 years old, man, so they won't fall victim to the streets. and it was so many different mentors, man. Like they was helping each other from town to town, from city to city. I want to say shout out to 100 Black Men. You know, the 100 Black Men of South Carolina, uh, the 100 Black Men of Atlanta, Georgia. The 100 Black Men of Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? So they was helping a lot of the kids, man, and I just want to salute them. So, but the absentee of a father, man, that just goes to show you, man, that a lot of time I'm gonna say this. Can we say that are women are a bad choice of picking a man and a bad choice of understands a man's character, or should we say that the buffoonery from a man that mentally manipulates a woman and have her thinking that he's someone that he's not? Could we say that as well?
It go both ways. It go both ways. I mean, it's a lack of a woman having a pattern of being attracted to the wrong type of guy and the wrong. And because a woman, a lot of times when they look at, like, let's say if they look at a guy that's in the streets, they look at it from a protective mechanism of, oh, he's strong, he's this, he's that, because he's willing to bust his gun for me, he's willing to kill somebody for me, he's willing to do certain things for me to protect me. But at the same time, that man has those other issues. He has that same type of anger where he willing to beat on you to make sure you stay in line. He willing to he has the always, you always got to be understand that at any time the ops could take them out, the police could come take them out, whatever the case may be. It's so many different elements that go into when you dealing with that type of guy. And then you gotta think about the player. The player at the time when he calling hollering at you, got the women that love those guys who every other woman loves. So let's just say you dating a guy that look like a Idris Elba, or looks like a Chris Brown, or whatever your fantasy guy in your head is as a woman. You date one of them guys, and you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Then you got to think about, okay, yeah, if I know 50 other women want this man, then you know what I mean, or whatever, then I think it was Jay-Z said or somebody said that a man is only good as his options. So at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? It might have been Jay-Z, but I can't remember somebody saying, I remember hearing somebody saying that, well, I forgot what celebrity said that, but I remember somebody saying a man is only as faithful as his options, which is a lot of cases very true. If I know, because the thing about men, what women sometimes realize or don't realize, men have we have real big egos. So whether, you know what I'm saying, so that's like why we don't like, when it's fun, I heard somebody say, I was watching something the other day and they were saying why they were saying that it was a comedian saying in his set, I think it was Bill Bellamy saying his set, he switches it up and says a man couldn't handle being a side dude. Because if you at a club, or you somewhere out and you see your the chick that you with, that's your side chick. I mean, that you the side chick to, side dude to, and let's say you with your woman, you 38 hot because you see her with her man. She might be with her husband or her boyfriend, but you can't say nothing, especially if you with your girl. You know what I'm saying? And so you feel a certain kind of way. You know what I'm saying? So our egos are so big a lot of times, we got 100 different women coming at us, you know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden we got to, we like, shoot, if this girl start acting up or pissing us off, we got this over here to go fall back on. The next thing you know, you start making all these babies, and then you can't take care of them. So then you got that man who, he get overwhelmed because he got 3 or 4 children at one time, and he got 3 or 4 baby mamas on his neck. So it's just a lot to go into, a woman understanding, if I'm gonna lay down with this man, what kind of man am I laying down with? Like, I remember, you heard the whole thing about Sierra. People was like, you know, the difference between her dating Future and her end up dating and eventually marrying Russell Wilson. and what type of man, you know, which one should she really be with or whatever, or did she make a good choice? Because a lot of people looked at Russell Wilson as a square, but as a good man. Future, he's the lady's dream, but of course, he got about 10, 12 kids. So it's a lot to go into it when it comes to that.
I'm glad you said that. Future Russell Wilson. It's not the same category. It's not the same category. Future's manipulative woman. Women. He womanizes. He's a womanizer, and it's like after he get one of them pregnant, it's like on to the next. And so, with that being said, man, if it's on to the next after you get one pregnant, man. So, like, if you're making that many kids, then some kids are going lacking without something, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always money.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's time, whether it's understanding, whether it's teaching them something, and like, there's no way that Russell Wilson should have been the first one to throw a football with Future Son. No way, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a damn how busy you are, what you got going on, bro. That ain't no way, bro. It's no way that Lil Wayne's son that he got with Lauren London, it's no way that Nip, when he was living, had spent more time with that young man than Lil Wayne did. That's no way, bro.
Nope.
So everybody was like, well, she ever seen a gold mine? And I ain't saying she didn't. But when we say she seen a gold mine, I'm pretty sure she seen a gold mine that it was more about finances. It was more mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It was more in a sensibility of having peace while in a relationship with someone, and it was more of he brought her that peace, and she probably became a wife when she thought she could never become a wife. Because if you look at her, man, she has this glow about her, since Russell Wilson. It's like a glow, and it's like you can see the peace all through her and all over her. And so that's what we call rich in love, And some people have never experienced that term called rich in love. You know what I mean? When you say rich in love, you ain't even talking about money. You talking about something that's way beyond money, something that money can never give you. That's just my take on that one right there.
I'm gonna make up a terminology for the first time on any of our podcasts, and it's for the women. It's something that they suffer from. It's called turnaround syndrome. And what turnaround syndrome means is women who feel like they can turn around a man, they can fix a man, they can mold that man into what they want him to be. So if he's lacking in certain areas or not doing things a certain way, they feel like, for whatever reason, if I show him good loving, if I cook for him every day, if I show I'm loyal to him, he's going to turn around and become a faithful man. Now, in certain cases, if you're with that man long enough, he will turn around, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with necessarily what you're doing. It becomes from a maturity thing. Because see, on both ends, you got to think, when you're dating a man or with a man at a younger age, at some point, both of you have to become mature. Women become mature in a way where they eventually understand their worth. But what the problem is with women I've seen on social media pages and things of this nature, and I was talking about this the other day, men and how they come at women. I was talking about this on TikTok, is that women basically they by the time they mature enough to understand what they really want and need out of a man, they're bitter. So now when they do And when a man does approach them, then and then they respond back. They respond with a certain like vitriol or certain like just they
Snappiness. A certain
uh,
snappiness. Let's keep it for real what it is. A certain snappiness and disposition
mhm,
and a demeanor, a demeanor, a demeanor that says, "I'm not warm. I'm not inviting. Why are you talking to me? Get your ass away from me." That's
exactly.
what it. That's what it is. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like I get it when you say, "Well, I ain't got time for the BS and I ain't got time for this and that," because I tell with women all the time. I said, if you ever look at a woman's social media page, and it should have like 10 different things that you can't do, and you better come like this, you better do this. I said, "Well, you know what you're doing? Even if a man who is trying, like if you're trying to, it's almost like a resume. If you putting out all this information, you know what happens is it's gonna be hard to filter the good man through the sorry joker, because that sorry joker know exactly what you like, what you don't like. So what do you know what
Mm-hmm.
he gonna do? He gonna play on what you, well, he gonna play on what you love and what you need in him. And then once that's why you always get the representative for that first 3 or 4 months. Now when he got you locked in and you all in love again, and he know you in love, then that other side will come back out. And then what's that movie with the chick from the Heat of the Night and uh uh, uh if not loving you is wrong, the other
Talking about
show.
having, you,
I forgot
yeah.
the name of the movie, but the movie was a big movie on Netflix where she fell in love with this guy and he showed her all this, and about a year into the relationship, you know what I'm saying, the real him came out. You know what I mean? Or whatever. And it was like, I forgot the name of the movie, but it was a real big movie, trending movie on Netflix for a while. But yeah, but yeah, so so that kind of like goes into, that's how it all starts. Because you got to think, when a man and a woman get together, they make a child, and then by the
Mm-hmm.
time that child becomes age where he understand what's going on, that man and that woman back and they at each other's throat, because how the man kind of broke that woman's heart, and they can't get past each other's issues. Because I remember I was listening to an interview yesterday. Well, Jay Z was on an interview with Kevin Hart, and he said, you know what I had to realize. He said at the time when we was kids, my dad was trying to work, and he got in something happened. I think he was doing construction or something, and he got fired, and then he was trying to find a job, and then he got, he was roaming around, and then things started to happen. And he said a lot of times he said things don't happen to you, things happen for you. So he was like, oh, so he said, once I had to understand what my dad was going through, it made me better understand why he wasn't around like he was supposed to be. Because a lot of things happens in a man's life throughout the time that you're a child that you don't even get or don't understand. And you just wonder why he not there for me. But it's a lot that's going on between him and your mama, or him in general, in his life in general. You know what I'm saying? That has nothing to do with you, and you just got caught up in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of guys being got good intentions, they just get caught up in their own world trying to figure out how to be a man. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. And then so the absentee of a father can result of this too, man. Man, the world already beat us up. Society already kick us in our fucking throats.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't have to come home to our black women kicking us in our throats and punching us in our face and literally, man, no words of encouragement, you know, um, words of belittlement all the time, man. That makes you absent. You know what I mean? And it makes you absent to a point where you're so you're so mentally damaged from that woman till you don't even know how to deal with your own child.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like you don't have no positive energy for your child. You don't have no love for the child because you're trying to find your peace again. So if you don't have no peace, then how can you have love?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't got no peace, then you can't love your child properly. And so a lot of men just stay away. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that's right, but I'm just saying that's what happens.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I know we can have a whole different subject matter on this. Why black men end up dating white women. and I'm just gonna give
Oh,
1 point,
oh,
and
oh.
I'm gonna give 1 point, and then hopefully we can expound on this because I would really want a woman to be like, yeah, what is really the reason why I'm and I know some women when I say this they're gonna be like, oh, that's just an excuse, that's a cop out, that's whatever. But I'm giving you a reason why. You know what I'm saying? Whether you like the reason or not, it's on you how you receive it. One of the reasons why, and I think me and you discussed this offline before, is that because when a black man dates a white woman, the expectation from that white woman either is not the same or he doesn't really hold it in the same regard as when the black woman has those same expectations. Because when you fail with the expectation that a white woman give you, you could say, "Oh well, because you don't understand me, because you don't come from my world, my culture. You're not black, so you don't understand what I'm going through." When you can't use that same excuse other than you're not a man with a black woman, but you can't, but the other things that go with it, you know what I'm saying, especially if you was raised by a black mother or a black grandmother, you know certain expectations that's put on you as a black man in this world. So at the end of the day, it's just you don't hold it with the same regard when you disappoint that white woman. You just don't. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, um, um, and that being said, I feel like that's a big reason why a lot of times when a black man finds his comfort or his peace in another race because of that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's the only factor. It's more factors to it than that. But that's just one of the ones that I wanted to just throw out there for people to know. I lost my co-host for a minute. He should hopefully be back on. Whatever. You know, he live out there in the country, so you know how that be sometimes. Yeah, so he live out there in the country, so you know how that be going on. So you know how that go. So, but but anyway, but yeah. So hopefully you get back him in a minute. But you know what I'm saying, we're gonna keep on till he. Sorry about that. That was funny. But anyway, yeah. So he should be back on in a minute. But anyway, man, yeah. So that's what I would say too is that um, and let me give y'all like a quick story or whatever why he comes back on. Some people know about this story. Some people might have heard this story before. I've told it before. But so when me growing up, without my father around, I was um I was probably 15 years old, and I was playing basketball, played rec league or whatever, 14, 15 years old. And I remember my dad was the referee. And uh the crazy part about it is my dad lived, just to give y'all kind of a probably the reason why what led up to the anger for me um um over the years, because my dad was in the military, um and so he had another family. He got remarried. When I was probably still up, probably 3 years old. Had my younger brother, my two younger brothers. They stationed in places like Germany and Kansas and places like that before they end up, his last couple of years in the military. He ended up back in Fort Bragg. Then once he ended up back in Fort Bragg, my dad ended up being stationed, and he ended up getting out of the military and moving back into our hometown in Southern Pines, Pine Bluff area. So my dad literally lived 5 minutes away from me. So you know how bad it is, how sad it is to have your father live 5 minutes from you, and he doesn't come around and spend time with you on a weekly basis, or have you come and spend time with your other brothers, or just whatever the case may be, or show up at your PTA meetings, or show up at your basketball games, your baseball games, your football games, whatever I had going on. My dad never showed up, and he literally lived 5 minutes from me. So, yeah, he back, he back. Here we go. So, what's going on? Yeah,
My
so
my bad, man. I let my brother and my brothers that don't just get no third. So,
yeah, but yeah,
so
what I was
go
saying
ahead.
was, yeah, what I was saying was, I was talking about. I had a story about my dad and what kind of caused some of my vitriol towards him. And I was just kind of giving like a synopsis, and I'm gonna tell you what really made it explode in the end. So my dad was in the military, and he was stationed in, of course, he went and got remarried when I was a kid, and what I mean, had my brothers or whatever, and then they were stationed in Germany and Kansas, and then by his last couple of years, he was stationed in Fort Bragg, and eventually moved back to he got out and moved back to our hometown in Southern Pines area. He literally lived 5 minutes from me, literally, and um, but he never came and picked me up. Me and my sister up. He never came, spent no time with us. He never like every now and then he'll come by and get us, or probably I would say maybe 2-3 times a year, maybe at most. You know what I'm saying? So he wasn't at our PTA meetings at basketball, football games, none of that.
Mm.
And I remember he basically promised my sister a car when she turned 16. I think it was a Volvo. I think it was that he was going to give her. And we would ride by the house every Sunday to look at this car. And then one Sunday we rolled by and the car was gone. And we found out that he ended up, I think, selling the car or doing something with the car. And so at that point, even before that, I used to tell people my dad was dead. That's how bad it was for me. When people asked me, and they knew my dad wasn't dead, but I would tell people that. And most of the father kids I hung around with, that's kind of how we all looked at our fathers like they was dead. They didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? That's how bad it was for most of the kids I grew up with. They didn't have a father in the home. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Most of the kids knew who my dad was because he lived right there in the city. A lot of my friends, they didn't even know ever knew who their dad was or didn't meet their dad till they was grown. That's how bad it was. But anyway, so when that happened, my dad literally was refereeing my basketball game, literally. And I'm on the court, running up down the court. I seen him. He didn't even acknowledge me at the games. Didn't know, like it was like I didn't exist to him. He didn't exist to me. And then whatever. My mom would see him at the bar, the local bar on the weekends, and you need to call your son and your children to spend some time with him. I know. I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do better. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so he called a foul on one of my teammates. I literally walked up to him and I cursed him out and called him everything but a child of God. This is no lie. My mom will tell you she was right there sitting on the sideline watching us play. Normally, my mama would have beat me down, would have beat the skin off me after the game for disrespecting an adult like that. My mom, what my mom said to me? She had a smirk on her face, a little smile on her face. She said, you was wrong, but I understand. You know what I'm saying? And then what happened was later on in life, when my mom, uh, uh, when my sister got married, my dad apologized at the wedding dinner, the night before the wedding, at the pre-wedding dinner. He apologized to us in front of everybody at a Ryan's and down in Riverdale, Georgia. I'll never forget this. We was in Riverdale, Georgia. Well, it was crazy. 10 years later, I ended up eventually moving there, or 15 years later, ended up moving there. But he apologized in front of everybody about what he did wrong, how he was wrong. And we all, I mean, it wasn't a dry eye in the house. But that one apology for me pretty much like gave me my peace. And from that on, he was a great granddad. You know what I'm saying? Me and him had a relationship before he passed away. You know what I'm saying? It was pretty cool or whatever. But just the fact that he apologized, that I didn't care about why. I never sat down and had a conversation. Like my sister, women different. They want to know when, why, or hell, how, why. I never did. It didn't matter to me no more. I just want you to be in my life, in my kids' life. I don't care about what happened in the past no more. It is waters under the bridge. Ain't no we can't change none of that. So I never sat down and asked him why he was never around. And we
Well,
never
well, 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 so let me ask you a question, man. A lot of people say people who forget about what happened in the past, the only reason why they forget because they turn cold.
Well, I mean, you could look at it like that. I mean, I was cold. I was more cold when he wasn't acknowledging me. When he apologized for what he did, well, for not being there, that was enough for me to get over it. Now, my sister, she has some little bit of resentment from it because she never called him dad. I started calling him pops. You know, I called him dad before that, but she would call him by his name. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
She wouldn't acknowledge him as being dad or pops or whatever. She would call him by his name. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. You know, that's why my mom used to call my sister Edlin, because you know I'm named after my dad, so she would call him Edlin because she said you act just like your daddy. You both of y'all stubborn as hell. So basically,
So,
you know,
so your sister act like your dad. That's what your mom said.
yeah, that's what my mom said. My sister act like my dad. That's why
Do
she
you
would call.
see it?
Huh?
Do you see it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I mean, my sister more like my uncle. My mom's brother, they more like them than anything else. But
Yeah.
from you could say from the stubbornness, you could see it or whatever. Both of them being like, you know, this what they want, this how they want things to go. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like being that lead, that alpha male or alpha whatever. You know what I'm saying, the alpha person. Both of them have that alpha person mentality,
Uh-huh.
or that hard workerness and all that kind of stuff. Both of them, we all got it. Cause like my stepmom, she'll say, all three of y'all boys, with me and my other two brothers, she said, all of y'all act just like y'all dad. She said, but she said, all four of y'all do. She said, and it's funny because me and my sister not growing up in the home with my dad, she said, it don't even, my stepmom will tell you, it don't even, she said, it don't even matter because every last one of y'all act just like your daddy. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? We all got different
Hey,
things.
hey, boy, that's some strong genetics. That's some strong genetics when you're behind, man. When you didn't grow up with your dad, and I've heard women say this about their children. Man, he act just like his damn daddy. Like I've heard women say this about, and I've seen that people daddies didn't grow up in the home, but as these cats got older, and I knew they dad, they walk like them, they talk like them, they act like them, they stand like them. Like genetics, something else, boy.
Mm-hmm.
For real, man. Do you look like them?
Uh, I look more like my mama than anything. I was a spit image of my mama growing up, but
Okay.
my kids now and my
But
wife.
I kind of it's crazy. So as you got older, you must look like your dad got his features because you and Jason look alike.
Yeah, probably now so more now, but than I did when I was growing up. I probably look more like my dad now. I know people now that see me, they were like, "Yeah, you look like your dad," or whatever. And then I know we all got his charisma because my dad was like the life of the party. My dad was the type where he'd go in the room and light a room up, and you know what I mean. And even like in the city, I could go anywhere in the city, and if people knew that was my dad, they'd be like, "Boy, you know what I mean, your dad is something else, or your dad is that and the third, and blah blah blah." So I know my dad had a real huge impact on where we came from, and so it's funny because after he passed away, I started hearing all these stories of how he was good to all these people and how the impact he had on all these people's lives. So it almost put that on thing like on me was like, dang, I got some shoes to fill. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
never knew about all of this. Yeah.
Because no matter how it went down, Icon, your daddy made an impact. So he definitely had the spirit of God in him. You know, people make mistakes, man, and some people can't really fathom at the time when they have, especially if a person have kids young. You know what I'm saying? Like I got homeboys be like, man, I wish I was the type of father that I am now to my to the kids I had when I was 18 and 19. My homeboys like, I didn't know, bro. Like, I know because I come from a good family, man. But to be a father yourself, bro, that's a lot of pressure on an 18-year-old, 19-year-old man. And he said, I wish my mindset was like it is now, but I wish I had it back then. And he was like, yeah, I made some mistakes. Me and my kids went through some roller coasters, man. My first two, he said, but we got through it. I finally got it, But by the time they was, when one was 12 and the other one was 14, I finally got it. It took me some years to get it, but I finally got it, man. So Um, a lot of times, man, just like you say, your dad made an impact on people. So the way he impacted lives is the way people look at you.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying, like
Mm-hmm.
that's such and such son. So I really know, that he a good guy, that he a good dude. And I know that he gonna be working with people in the community. Cause if your dad impact lives like that, man, and people still talk about it to this day, that say a whole lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because my dad, my dad was like, he was a type, he'd give people money to get out of jail, and he was, he'll give you his shirt off his back type of thing, and that's type of the same type of, you know, um, morals and values and things I grew up with in the same way I was. And that, I was mainly taught later more from my grandmother. But, my dad was the same way. And then he went from being in the streets all the time at the bars on the weekend and chasing behind the women and all that kind of stuff to being a deacon in the church. And matter of fact, he raised so much money for his church to build up a children's center, like a educational center, that they were supposed to put a educational center, community center in his name. Like they was about to break ground on it before he passed away. That was going to
Wow.
be Jones uh community center in the thing, but then the church ended up stealing the money. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like after he died, something. Well, I take that back. Allegedly, the church stole the money. I don't know exactly what happened, but for some odd reason, the money was never used for that anymore. You know what I'm saying? But my understanding, allegedly, the church stole the money. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? But I ain't gonna leave it at that. Somebody
Wow.
say something, but hey, it is what it is. You know what I mean? They if they got an issue with what I said, they can call me or hit me up.
I
But
feel a word coming on this morning.
saying I ain't gonna bite my tongue about that or whatever because I feel me and my brother still feel a certain kind of way about that whole thing.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Whatever. So it is what it
Right.
is. But you know what I mean. But because it's supposed to happen. What this is 2022. This is supposed to happen 13, 14 years ago. 14, 15
Mm,
years ago. So this has been over 15 years. That land still sitting there. That had his name. Had I'm talking about. They had the post. They had the sign up and everything already ready to go to break ground on it to start this center that he raised money for and sat down with the banks and the whole nine to get probably get the rest of the money to go towards the loan to be able to get this thing to break ground on this thing. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? My brother always talked about we were gonna go back and eventually make that right by still putting that center up at some point. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so but yeah, it's kind of crazy. It just goes to show you, like, just because the father is not in the home, and a lot of times we bash these men, and that's why sometimes I get on these black women sometimes because I say, listen, y'all spend so much time bashing the bad men. Y'all look at us like we cops. Y'all put us all in one group together. Like it's some good black men out there, and even the black men who necessarily wasn't the greatest fathers, they necessarily terrible men. They just whatever reason they had children so young, they just don't. They just never. And then and they understanding that like the responsibility falls really on them, that they lose their way trying to get out of their way. They kind of lose their way trying to figure things out because like you said, the black woman on that man head and on them about, yeah, you girl, Mike, whatever, you need to get your stuff together. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of pressure on a young man a lot of time. Not to say it's an excuse, but I'm just saying what I'm giving you the real. It's a lot of pressure on a man to try to have that responsibility when he's 19, 20, 21 years old.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. It is a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility, man. So, man, this is another great episode, man. The absence of a father, man, and the impact they make on a child's lives, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or whether it consists into behavioral issues throughout their childhood, man. How can we change the narrative of this? How can the village step in like they once did, to really change the narrative? So, man, I appreciate everybody, uh, for definitely watching, because it's been an open discussion, open dialogue, and so, just leave a message in the comments. And I did put some on Facebook last night, man, just telling y'all that we was gonna be on this morning. So still leave your message in the comments. And I definitely let Icon see the messages and whatnot, man. Like, cause we want y'all feedback to see what y'all think, man. And then we thinking about doing. I was thinking about we should do a live Q&A session. You know what I mean? You know, we have a couple guests. We ask the questions, and the guests kind of debate on the answers. A
We
cause
need
and
to
effect type
have
thing.
a part two. We need to have a part two and have one man and one woman on here. So get a perspective of another father while they're not here. Another perspective from a woman. Maybe, and I'm gonna even tell you, maybe you got to go a step further. We might even need to have a white man who deals with that kind of thing too. It can't. It's not just about because our youth in general, we can't just break it
Well,
down.
but listen, I have a white friend, man. Shout out to my boy Sean from Boston, Massachusetts, who down in the South Florida area. What about the absence of a mom? He had to deal with that. I seen him deal with this, and how he had to break this story down to his girls, bro. Because he got custody of his two daughters,
Yeah.
but their mom was absent from their life. So like I think he could bring a different perspective. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So we'll do all that, man. We'll do all that. But yeah, like I said, man, another great show, and we're just gonna keep this train going, man. You know what I'm saying? Two great shows, and then we're just gonna keep this train going, and hopefully people will get something out of this. We're gonna repost these shows or whatever, so y'all can go back and watch it. But it's very important that everybody watches it because these are educational shows. This ain't our sports stuff. This is educational for us
Right.
to be able to grow as people, as men and women,
Mhm.
society, so we can be better fathers and mothers. Because if we don't get it together, they're not gonna get it together.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So well, man, until next time. You know what I'm saying? Or Sunday morning, y'all catch us first thing in the morning, 8:15 a.m. You know what I mean? It's gonna be an explosive show because we about to get into football season. So we about to be real spicy in the morning. So y'all check
Right.
us out 2910 Sports, man. I'll holler, my brother.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Got the good vibe, got the 1942 pouring in my cup. In the session, real loud, good gas, yeah, you know we about to roll it up. Bring the bottles to the session, big tab, go ahead and just live it up. Get lit one night after that.